Hello, grade 5 learners. Our topic for today is all about reproduction of flowering and non-flowering plants. This is quarter 2, module 4 of grade 5 science. I'm your teacher for today, Mrs. Eloisa A. Rivera, and I'm glad that you are here with me right now. So you can see different types of plants everywhere. They differ in size, shape, color, smell, and even in their mode of reproduction. Like animals, plants need to be continuously reproduce themselves. Some reproduce through their seeds, while some plants use other parts such as the roots, leaves, and stem. This module focuses on the different modes of reproduction in flowering and non-flowering plants, such as moss, fern, mongo, and others. So these are the objectives and the learning competency of this module. Describe the different modes of reproduction of flowering and non-flowering plants like moss, fern, mongo, and others. The modes of plant reproduction can be classified as sexual mode of reproduction and asexual mode of reproduction. If we look at a plant, we notice that it consists of different parts. The parts of a plant can be categorized as vegetative parts, which include leaves, roots, and stem, and reproductive parts, which include flowers. Flowers perform the reproductive function in plants. The first type of plants reproduction is sexual reproduction. Plants can reproduce using sexual reproduction, which produces new varieties. Plants have special reproductive organs. For sexual reproduction, plants need a male and a female. Male and female plants have different reproductive organs. The reproductive organs are found in the flowers. Most plants actually have both male and female organs in their flowers. As you can see in the slide, these are pictures of a flower and a plant, and the different parts of the plants like the leaf, the flower, the stem, and also the roots. Male reproductive organs make pollen grains. These are the male sex cells or gametes. Female reproductive organs contain egg cell. These are the female sex cells or gametes. As you can see in the illustration is an idealized flower. So these contain the male reproductive organ and the female reproductive organs. The male reproductive organ contains the stamen, anther, and the filament. And the female reproductive organs contain the stigma, style, ovary, and the carpel. This part is the petal, and the female gametes are stored in the ovule. This part is the receptacle, then this one is the sepal. Usually, we use a gomamela flower in identifying the parts of a flower. Plant sexual reproduction happens when the pollen grains are transferred from the anthers or the male into the stigma or the female. The transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is called pollination. When the male parts and the female parts are brought in contact, the gametes fuse to produce fruits that bear seeds. There are two kinds of pollination. The first one is the self-pollination. It is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or of a different flower that belongs to the same plant. The second kind of pollination is cross-pollination. It is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of a flower to the stigma of another flower that belongs to another plant but of the same kind. Now, let's watch a video about the two kinds of pollination in order for us to understand the difference between self-pollination and cross-pollination. Enjoy watching!
Pollination. The process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma is called as pollination. If this transfer of pollen occurs in the same flower or another flower of the same plant, it is known as self-pollination. On the other hand, if pollen is transferred from one flower to the flower of another plant of the same species, it is known as cross-pollination. The agents of cross-pollination are wind, water, or animals. You must have seen the honeybees sitting on flower. In the absence of honeybees, the yield of sunflower goes down tremendously. Why? Answer. Honeybees are pollinators of sunflower. In the quest of nectar, they visit the flowers and carry pollen from one flower to another. Due to such pollination, the yield of sunflower increases. In the absence of honeybees, the pollination does.
Now, the second type of reproduction in plants is asexual reproduction. It is the formation of new individuals from the cell or cells of a single parent. It doesn't allow for any type of genetic variation. There are two kinds of asexual reproduction. Those are number 1, vegetative reproduction, and number 2, reproduction without seeds. Let's take a look about vegetative reproduction or propagation. How does it happen? Vegetative parts of the plants like the leaves, roots, and stem are also capable of giving rise to new plants. Vegetative propagation is a form of asexual reproduction where new plants can grow from roots, stems, and leaves of a parent plant. It can grow through the following reproduction like the bulb, rhizome, corm, tuber, leaves, and others. So how does it differ? So these are the kinds of asexual reproduction through vegetative reproduction. Number 1 is bulb. It is planted through a rounded stem with fleshy leaves. Example of these are onion and tulips. Number 2 is rhizome. It is a horizontally growing stem. Examples of it are ginger and lettuce. Number 3 is corm. It is planted through a short vertical stem. Example of it is gladulus and gabi. And number 4 is tuber. It is a fleshy underground stem or roots like the potato or carrots. Now let's take a look at this example. So asexual reproduction, like in this illustration, shows that the plants are planted using the following. For example, this is the parent plant, then the bud, then the runner, the rhizome, and the new plant. So you can identify how these plants are planted using the parent plant. So these are the plants reproduced through the bulb. First are the onion bulb, like this one. And the second one are the tulips. It is planted through a bulb. Then next is a garlic. Plants also grow from rhizomes. Example of these are ginger and lettuce. Plants grow also from corms. Example of it is gabi. And plants grow from tuber. Example of these are potatoes and carrots. Some modified stems do not grow underground, but instead crawl along the ground. These are called stolons or runners. Strawberry and other grasses grow from stolons. So these are the plants that grow from runners. Strawberry, grass. New plants can also rise from the leaves of a few plants. Katakataka and some begonia plants have leaves from which young plants grow. The new plant grow along the edges of the parent plant's leaves. These are examples of plants that grow from leaves. Leaf of life or the katakataka, just like what I mentioned a while ago. The second type of asexual reproduction is reproduction without seeds. Non-flowering plants such as mosses and ferns reproduce with spores. Spores are an important adaptation that allowed them to reproduce on land. A spore is a single reproductive cell that is protected by a hard watertight covering that prevents the cell from drying out. Now, in order for us to understand the asexual reproduction of plants, I have here a video that shows the asexual reproduction of plants. Enjoy watching!
Hello happy friends! Welcome to a new happy learning video! Plants, like all living things, need to reproduce to perpetuate their species, to survive through time. Today, we're going to get to know plant asexual reproduction. In asexual plant reproduction, flowers don't intervene. There's no need for a gamete or female and male cell. In asexual reproduction, there's only one parent. So the new plants will be genetically identical to this. New plants can originate from a single cell, tissue, an organ, or a part of a mother plant. There are two types of asexual reproduction: vegetative reproduction and reproduction without seeds. Let's get to know them. If you want to get to know vegetative reproduction, what root vegetables, bulbs, stolons and rhizomes are, if you want to learn how plants without seeds reproduce, what mosses and ferns are, if you want to get an excellent grade in your exam, click on this link and subscribe to Happy Learning TV.
Now, grade 5 pupils, you are ready to answer your module. Good luck and have a good day. Thank you.